Right, as you see, it's finishing off this model, I'm going to call it. It's part of an extruder rebuilding from somebody else's STL files and modified them quite a bit. Now I've been through quite a few iterations with this to make sure parts fit and go together well, and readjust them. There it is, it's finishing now. So the head moves up out the way, the bed will come forward, it'll play a bit of a tune. I do have supports on this, that's why you can see these sort of almost teeth, I'm going to call them, going down there. They're part of the supports. When I've been doing the iterations, I have been printing out with a 0 infill and no supports, and that means they print a lot quicker, they use less plastic, and obviously a lot more beneficial like that. So this comes off, or just lifting that tape a bit over there. It's come off pretty good. Going on to blue painter's tape. Hold it there, so that's part of the supports here. Using Cura. 80% infill. Now I did show you how light it sounded when I did the 0 infills in this video. So you can compare it, how that sounds. This certainly feels, it just feels solid. You see how the infills have even filled, because I've asked for infills everywhere. Even the holes there are infilled, but those should reasonably easy come out. Just before this print, I printed out some pegs, obviously not with the bolt on, you know, just the pegs, and these were stood vertically, 2 of them. One's a bit shorter than the other, one's for bearing to go on, and this is like the quick release mechanism I'm going to have on this feeder, part of that. And they were just stood up on the bed like this, no raft, stuck on fine, didn't come off. When I was doing the 0 infill though, this did break off where the hole was. That was without any supports, so there was, that's actually, I think it was even a bit thinner this than at that time. I've made it a bit like heavier diameter, this peg. So I'm about to start printing the next part of this. Sometimes I have a little bit of problem with this sort of skirt thing here. I might raise the Z probe height a little bit. It's on -6.6 at the moment, so I might put that on -6.55, because sometimes this like skirt here is a little bit hard to come off. You have to be careful using your nails, because I have known bits of plastic or go under the end of my nails, and then ouch, it can hurt. Press that down while I'm here. So that was pulling up a bit, so that's a bed's not too bad. Right, I'm going to start the next part of this print, which is the main drive, and I'll show you some of that starting and like do some time lapse of that as well. So I've just started asking it to print, and it's warming up the, well, the bed's already warm. I am using PLA, but I do warm the bed to 30. That's just sort of just slightly above ambient temperature. It's just what we call lukewarm to the touch. That's just so I can stabilise the bed temperature, probably not needed on PLA on this blue painter's tape. So it's heating up the nozzle now, and I'll come back after it's done all the auto leveling, because that takes about 5 minutes or so to do all that sort of stuff, and then hopefully we'll catch it start printing. Right, here's the nozzle just coming in now to start printing. Now quite often it doesn't do the first part spot on. I have just raised the nozzle a little bit. It was, what was it on? It was on 660, that is minus 6.6. Now it's on minus 6.55. It does look a bit high, it looks a bit like a bead is raised there. I'm not sure how well I can zoom in. So I'll probably put that back down to minus 6.65 on the Z probe height. It seems to be doing quite well. Now it certainly doesn't look quite not squished down there. Well, in the meantime, I'm trying to get the support off this. Now this might be out of focus, sorry about that, because I'm zoomed in quite a bit. I'm using these long nose pliers and I find it quite hard to do that. Let me watch this a bit first, as it starts off here. This is like the main drive wheel for this feeding mechanism. So it's going to be a belt drive, similar to the one I actually have on this machine. I'll show you that later. But just, I'm trying to put a quick release thing on it. That's what this is, almost this, sorry, this goes out of focus here. I don't want to change the focus, just to show you this at the moment. This will sort of unhooks off the end anyway, to allow easy access to the filament, which the feeding sort of system I have at the moment does not have a item like that. I'm just going to let this run normal speed here in the video, so you can see the start of this print. So here's the printer. It's printed out quite well after a long journey, let's put it that way, from how it started with this printer. It was in very bad condition, damaged when it came. My light's shining there on the right hand side. It's one of my video lights. Now at 80% infill on this print, well, with support, etc, etc, it's a 4-hour 5-minute print to print this model out, this gear wheel sort of thing for belt drive. Boarding system. E3D version 6.4 nozzle, PLA 1.75, although this blue stuff has measured at more near 170, 1.7 that is obviously. Boarding feeding, printing on blue painter's tape. The bed is set to 30 and the nozzle is set to 190 degrees. No changes in the temperature there, that's the settings throughout of the temperatures on the bed and the nozzle, they don't sort of lower, and pretty much all the other ones settings are sort of standard. I probably will have to change the support a little bit, seems a bit hard to get off this other part. I'll try and show you that just now. Watch this a bit longer. Basically, I'm quite confident now with this printer that I can leave it. Generally, I'll say set it away once I've got it zeroed and get the first layer down. The first couple of days, I will generally leave it, say 10 minutes. Come and have a look and make sure that it is continuing on with the first layers, so to speak. Then I'll leave it, say half an hour. Then maybe leave it an hour after that. So I'm not constantly watching it, I'm just going away and leaving it and coming back and checking it, say, every hour. Because as I say, some of these prints can be quite time consuming to do. This is a 4-hour 5-minute print, this main belt drive here. So generally with printers after the first layer or so it will speed up a bit, but it just depends what's actually printing out on the model, how fast it's going to travel, so to speak. As you can see, blue painter's tape. No treatment on that blue painter's tape, not being sanded, nothing like that, not even cleaned off with isopropyl or alcohol, just been put down on the bed and the print goes on it fine. Now I've got the sort of zero probe level somewhere near where it should be anyway. A lot of my problems were caused with the feeding mechanism I used to have. Well, and other issues with this printer. This printer was in a very bad condition when I first got it. I'll let this continue on a little bit longer. And I'll show you the feeding mechanism just now. I have shown the feeding mechanism in the video. That's what I'm actually printing out, is a different feeding mechanism. Like I say, a bit more stylish on this cog wheel here that's printing out, and a quick release thing on the back, so that it's easier to change the filament. So it is a belt drive sort of feeding mechanism I've got. Right, let's have a look at the feeding mechanism now. So here's the feeder, belt drive. I put a bit of Tipex on just so I can make sure that it's turning and turning in the correct direction. If you do go from gears to belt drive, remember that a belt drive is almost turning in the same direction as the sort of smaller drive pinion gear here. So that's turning clockwise, this is turning clockwise. Where if you're used to a gear, this would turn clockwise, that would turn anti-clockwise. So in the sort of Marlin code you have to change the setting of the feed direction. Obviously you want to recalibrate how much it's feeding, so to speak. But this feeding mechanism here is, you know, can you say 200% better than what I had before? That's just my phone going off. I have it set. I have my phone set to give me an alarm to come down and check the printing every so often. Make sure it hasn't gone into making plastic spaghetti for me. So I'll let this go around a little bit. Sometimes it can move feed very slowly, the filament. It's surprising how slow it can turn and how slow it can move. It's hard to tell it's moving, so sometimes I'll put a plastic sort of clip on the filament to make sure that it is feeding in, although I've never had any problems with this feeder I've got here. So there's a boarding tube going over there, going down to the printer down below. I've got a piece of cardboard here, so I can't really pan down, well, tilt the camera down any more than that at the moment, because the piece of cardboard gets in the way. There's a sheet of cardboard here, because there is a door right nearby that the sheet of cardboard sort of prevents any drafts blowing on if anybody comes in and opens the door. So here's a little bit of a different angle. See the main drive wheel there, the belt going across here, boarding tube coming up here going down to the printer. My other feeding mechanism, the retraction, well, it was absolute rubbish, the other feeding mechanism I used to have. The retraction wouldn't work properly on it, so to speak. Had an awful lot of problems with it. So just move this boarding tube over, and you can see the drive belt there. As I said, that is turning particularly slowly at the moment. It's still feeding. It's moving very slow. I do have heat sinks on my steppers, all my steppers. This is a heat sink just cemented on. There's some heat cement there. From this side, I think I can tilt down to show you the connection onto the X carriage down there. And that's connecting to E3D version 6 hot end. This is my sort of 0 level probe. It's just some expansion brackets off an old computer and a micro switch on the end of one. It has a sort of bolt going in, it's on a spring, so I can hook it down and hook it back up. Done manually at the moment. couple of bearings there, one bearing this side to slide across the smooth rods here. Let's go down for a look at the print now. Some sort of LED strips all over on this printer frame. Spring on the belt there, well, I have springs on both my belts. This is a printer at its normal speed. As I say, it just depends what part it's printing, how fast it's going to print. So sometimes it can go at quite a speedy rate. Even though the head's moving quite fast, this is for our 5-minute print altogether, and we're half an hour into the print now. So it's been printing for half an hour. These sort of lines coming out here are part of the supports, I can tell you that now. This cog wheel does have a bit of an overhang on it. So to prevent the feed from printing into thin air, because it has nothing to print on, that's these supports that are supposed to be easy to remove, but I found them pretty difficult to remove actually. But that's my first try of removing any supports in Cura. Obviously I can adjust the amount of supports to a certain extent, and I think how well it attaches to the pads. So all that might be adjustable in Cura, and then I can make it a bit easier to hopefully remove that support. But no raft on here. Print onto, just printing direct onto the blue painter's tape. E3D version 6 watt end, 0.4 nozzle, PLA 1.75, although it measures more, that's 1.7, sorry, 190 nozzle, 30 on the heat bed, blue painter's tape. Back to normal speed on the video, so you can see the almost loops of the support there. Okay. You see all these loops, those are part of the supporting structure. Also, if you look on the left hand side, you might see some lines there. Those are also part of the supporting structure on this part. That's Cura to do. I think the support does need a bit of adjustment in my opinion. It's not coming off like as neat as I would like. So let you watch this. We're almost an hour into this 4-hour 5-minute print. So here's the part. I have been working on it with this. This is a modified 3D sort of heating thing. It heats up off a USB and you can melt a bit of the plastic. That's what's made it a bit almost shiny there, you might see it. I don't think it's been working very well. I think it's the power supply actually I'm using on this modified 3D at the moment. I'm using it from a laptop and the light on the modified 3D seems to be flashing on and off, so I don't think it's getting the full heat. So I've packed it in doing that. I'll just show you what this looks like. See how that glistens there. It's because the plastic has been melted there with a modified 3D unit. So this is a modified 3D. Plug it in a USB. You get various tips. A spoon thing on that at the moment, but you get various ones. Just goes into USB. You can unplug it there. Well, I found it okay for pressing in a nut, like into an insert, and melting that nut into the insert. I still haven't done all these holes yet. I'm going to drill them out. Anyway, I'll get back to going on to time lapse on here on this video just now. Well, it's about halfway stage now, back to normal speed on the video obviously. It's 2 hours 5 minutes on the display. I thought I'll bring you in for a normal speed video look. can see some of the support and structures down there. To be honest, I do not like these, well, the default supporting structures. I've only really had one experience of them, and it's not been all that good. Well, it's basically just finished now, back to normal speed on the video obviously. So the nozzle's going up and to the left, the bed will move forward just now. There we go, and knocks the focus out. Here's a tune. Trying to do that reasonably slowly so that doesn't rip the painter's tape off. So that's a lot of the support material down there at the bottom. As you can see, there was no raft on this. Looks almost like a raft, but it's just to support this edge which overhangs it, so to speak. Otherwise it'd be printing in thin air. A quick look at that, doesn't look too bad. Looks I think there's a few bumps there on there. This one was stringy before, but now I've got my new feeding mechanism. It's not quite so bad. There is a arrow shape on here which sort of tells me the direction it turns in normally. Yep, pretty good. That's got a lock on that, so there's a definite curve on here. It's stuck on the bed. Let's see if we can get that in the camera. It seems to be a definite like rock there. That side is how flat is my bed? Well, somehow I missed pulling the sort of supports off. I was using the long nose pliers and twisting the bits of support off, but you can probably see the result of that. This is where the supports were just on this sort of cut out here. Sorry about the lighting here, but I'm just having this bit of video to show you the results of the spots. This is the blue painter's tape side, so that's those lines there. So it does leave, or seem to leave, this on the object, the model. There is some adjustment you can do on the supports in Cura. I think there's only about 2 different types of support, but you can change some of the settings within those 2 types. So as I know, I asked for the lined, this is like a checkered crosshatch, I believe, type of support, and a lined one. This is a lined one, so as I know, which I think this is easier to break off, but you'll have to break off each part separately, whereas with a checkered one I think you can suggest you can pull it all off at once. So trying to get pretty close, shoes like that, on full focus, there we are. So, and I think there's a definite curve on that. Let me take this bolt out and put it on this surface, which is pretty flat. So, that side a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as the part that was on the blue painter's tape. Now, remembering that I did put the heat bed on for 30 with this PLA, so is that causing this to like bend like this? I'll have to try the heat bed on 0, well, no setting. I mean, that's okay to probably use this model, I think, as I say, apart from like the bubbles in the edges. Those could be problematic because the belt teeth want to go into those grooves. I mean, there is a cutout there, so you can see that. I think that actually, if I put my hand there, you can see there's a definite sort of curve on that. Okay. Oops. Sounds like PLA. So that's okay, I think, anyway.